Close your eyes for a moment and imagine waking up in a world that feels just slightly wrong. Not dangerous, not chaotic, just different in a way you can't quite explain. The birds are quieter, the morning air feels heavier, and when you look at the sunrise, something about the sky doesn't look the same. The colors seem muted, like the world has been painted with a thin layer of ash or dust. You don't know it yet, but something extraordinary has happened. Something that scientists in our time would later discover, buried in tree rings and ice cores. Something so powerful, it silently bathed Earth in radiation, without a single human ever realizing what was happening. This is the mystery of the 774 AD solar event, a cosmic blast stronger than any solar storm in recorded history. Stronger than the Carrington Event of 1859, stronger than anything our modern world has ever experienced. A burst of energy that struck Earth with 10 times the power of the largest known solar flare. And the strangest part, no one in the year 774 wrote about a bright flash, or a storm in the sky, or auroras exploding across the horizon. It came without sound, without warning, without light, yet it left its signature etched deep inside the bones of the planet. Now, imagine yourself living in that world, a world of quiet villages, candlelit nights, and skies untouched by modern pollution. There are no satellites above you, no power grids humming beneath your feet. Life is simple, but it's fragile in ways you don't think about. When you walk through the forests near your home, the trees tower above you like ancient guardians. Their rings, the layers they grow each year, carry the memory of every drought, every flood, every moment of stress the Earth has endured. But in the year 774, something happened that forced the planet itself to flinch. You don't know the science behind it. You don't know that the sun is a seething sphere of plasma, constantly twisting and snapping with magnetic storms. You don't know that sometimes those storms break free and send massive eruptions of charged particles hurtling toward Earth. All you know is that for several days, strange things begin to happen. At night, the sky glows faintly, not bright enough to alarm you, but enough that farmers whisper about unusual omens. Travelers say they've seen glowing arcs of red in the distance. Animals behave oddly. Dogs refuse to sleep. Birds circle in patterns you've never seen before. But these signs fade quickly, and for centuries afterward, no one remembers them. The world simply moves on. Yet deep beneath the bark of every tree alive at that time, something shocking has been recorded. A sudden spike in carbon-14, a radioactive form of carbon created when intense cosmic radiation slams into Earth's atmosphere. This spike is so massive that scientists in the 21st century are stunned when they discover it. A signature far too strong to be caused by ordinary solar activity. To create a spike this large, Earth must have been hit by a particle storm unlike anything in known history. So what happened? What did the people of 774 live through without even realizing it? Imagine, for a moment, that you could stand outside the atmosphere, floating between Earth and space, watching the event unfold. The sun, from a distance, looks calm one moment, and then violently unstable the next. A colossal eruption bursts from its surface, a flare so bright it could outshine the entire solar system for a heartbeat. But that's not the real danger. The real danger is the wave of radiation riding behind it, accelerating toward Earth at unimaginable speeds. In space, this wave is a wall of invisible fire, high-energy particles, gamma rays, and charged plasma. It surges outward like a tidal wave, sweeping across millions of miles in hours. When it reaches Earth, the atmosphere absorbs most of the blast, shielding the life below. But the atmosphere itself becomes scorched, fractured, altered. Nitrogen molecules crack apart. Carbon-14 forms in enormous quantities. Even today, we can still see the fingerprint of that invisible catastrophe frozen in tree rings around the entire world. Down below, you feel none of this directly. You continue living, unaware that the planet has just been struck by a cosmic punch so powerful it would cripple modern civilization. You cook food, gather firewood, and talk with your family while, above you, the sky is being rewritten. And here's where the story becomes even more haunting. If an event like the 774 solar blast happened today, it would be catastrophic. Satellites would be disabled, GPS would fail, power grids across North America could collapse within minutes, transformers would melt, the internet could go dark, flights grounded, radios silent, economies frozen overnight. Within hours, the modern world, everything from your bank to your phone to your city's power grid, could be thrown into chaos. But in 774, none of that infrastructure existed. And so the greatest solar explosion in recorded human history passed almost unnoticed. Almost. Because centuries later, scientists began uncovering clues, little bits of evidence scattered across the planet like breadcrumbs left behind by the cosmos. Japanese cedar trees with abnormal carbon readings. Antarctic ice cores with sudden spikes in beryllium-10, another cosmic radiation marker. Historical records describing unusual red glows in the sky, lasting for nights at a time. Taken together, these clues form a puzzle. And when the pieces finally fit, they reveal a moment in history that humanity didn't understand at the time, but that modern science recognizes as one of the most violent solar events our planet has ever survived. Now, imagine being there, walking through a forest that has silently recorded this invisible catastrophe. Imagine touching a tree and feeling the weight of something ancient and cosmic pulsing inside it. Imagine knowing that the sun you trust every morning once unleashed a blast powerful enough to challenge the limits of life on Earth. This is the story you're about to hear, not just the science, but the experience. What it felt like, what it meant, how close we came to witnessing a world-changing cosmic disaster, and what would happen if it occurred again today in the heart of the digital age. Because the truth is chilling, the sun has not changed. The forces that caused the 774 event still exist, and scientists believe another blast of that magnitude will happen, not if, but when. So take a breath, settle into the darkness, and let's step into the world of 774 AD. A world on the edge of a cosmic storm. A world that survived without ever realizing how close it came to catastrophe. The mystery begins here. You wake the next morning to a world that feels strangely quiet, not silent, just subdued, as if the air itself is holding its breath. The sunlight looks dimmer, softer, as though a thin veil is stretched across the sky. You glance upward, expecting the usual clear blue morning, but instead, the sky has a faint milky cast, almost like the sun is shining through frosted glass. You chalk it up to weather. Dust, maybe. Mist, a passing haze, but it lingers. Hours pass, then days, and the sky still doesn't look quite right. There's no storm, no rainfall, no smoky smell. nothing to explain the way the light feels weak, filtered, like the sun has lost a piece of itself. If you lived in 774 AD, you wouldn't have the words solar proton event or cosmic radiation to describe what's happening. You would only experience it, the odd coolness of the day, the faint red tint appearing at night, the animals acting wary. You might whisper to a neighbor about the strange dawns. You might see farmers staring at the sky longer than usual, but no one knows what to blame it on. Nature is mysterious. The sky is mysterious. Whatever is happening must be the will of something greater. And yet, even though the world doesn't fully understand what's unfolding, the event is growing. The sun's eruption has already hit the Earth once. The first wave of radiation slammed into the upper atmosphere, tearing molecules apart and seeding radioactive isotopes deep within the planet's natural record-keeping systems, trees, ice, sediment. But the second wave is coming now, riding behind it like an aftershock. If you could see the Earth from space in this moment, you'd witness something extraordinary. A faint shimmer surrounds the planet, the magnetosphere, Earth's invisible shield, glowing under stress. Charged particles strike it like sparks hitting metal, lighting it with ribbons of energy. These ribbons cascade down toward the poles, creating light shows so intense that if you lived in the right place at the right time, they would paint the sky in colors that defy belief. Somewhere in China, a scholar might record red vapors in the heavens, unaware that he's describing the afterglow of a cosmic storm. Somewhere in the British Isles, villagers might notice strange lights on the horizon, whispering about omens or spirits or signs in the sky. In Japan, the night may glow brighter than usual, causing elders to mutter about celestial warnings. These descriptions, scattered across ancient texts, barely survive to modern times. But they line up small, fragile clues, hinting that something powerful passed over Earth in that era. Meanwhile, beneath those skies, life continues. The world is slower, quieter, simpler. You walk through farmland where horses pull plows and children chase chickens through village paths. You smell bread baking, hear the clang of tools, feel the earth beneath your feet. No one has any idea that the planet is currently absorbing more cosmic radiation than at any other known moment in history. And the strange thing is, the effects are subtle. Too subtle for anyone living at the time to understand. The event plays out in silence. No fireballs streaking across the sky. No walls of light crashing into the horizon. Nothing visually spectacular. Just a quiet, atmospheric transformation happening above your head while life below goes on unchanged. But inside the trees, a different story is unfolding. Each tree is a living chronicle. Every year, it adds a layer, a ring. Wide rings for good years, narrow rings for droughts, rings scarred by fire or insect infestations. But this year, the tree forms a ring unlike any other, infused with carbon-14 at concentrations far higher than normal. A radioactive timestamp, a cosmic fingerprint. Centuries later, scientists are puzzled when they discover this anomaly. Some suspect a nearby supernova. Others consider a gamma ray burst. But none of those possibilities fit. The signature is too clean, too concentrated, too sudden. Something else must have caused it. Something massive, but close enough to affect the entire atmosphere at once. Slowly, the theories narrow. The conclusion becomes unavoidable. The sun did this. But for now, In the year 774, all you feel is that world beneath your feet, a world that suddenly feels a little colder at sunrise, a bit dimmer during the day. Nights stretch longer. The stars appear sharper, clearer, as though the sky has been polished. Some nights, faint glows ripple across the atmosphere, but no one writes about them in detail. They are simply observed, whispered about, forgotten. Life continues. And yet, if you pay close attention, you might notice that certain crops grow slightly weaker that season. Not dangerously so, not enough to cause hardship, but enough to make farmers frown at their fields, wondering if the soil is changing. You might notice livestock behaving oddly, sensitive to small shifts in magnetic fields or atmospheric pressure that humans can't sense. Animals detect things long before we do, subtle signals in nature that bypass our understanding. Still, nothing about this year feels catastrophic, just unusual, off balance, strange in ways that are easy to overlook. The true violence of the event remains hidden, trapped in the invisible layers of the atmosphere. And here's the haunting part. If the 774 event happened today, we would not survive it quietly. Modern satellites would be fried instantly. Power grids would blow out like candle flames. Planes would lose navigation. Communications would collapse. Every system tied to radio waves, electricity, or orbiting technology would be at risk. In 774, the world barely noticed. In our time, the world would be pushed to the brink within hours. And yet, as you stand in the world of 774, surrounded by wooden homes, quiet fields, oil lamps, and handwritten manuscripts, you feel none of that danger. You watch the sky at dusk. You see a strange curtain of light shimmer above the horizon. You wonder about omens, or gods, or celestial signs, and then you simply go home, eat, rest, sleep. You never know that the sun has just unleashed one of the greatest blasts in human history. The earth absorbs it. The atmosphere scars. The trees remember, but the people forget. Centuries later, their world looks unchanged. But deep inside those tree rings, the truth waits. A silent record of the day the sun tried to reach out and touch the earth, and the mystery is only beginning. You stand at the edge of a dense forest, unaware that the very trees surrounding you are quietly documenting the most powerful solar storm ever to hit Earth. Their leaves rustle softly, their branches sway in the cool wind, and their trunks, thick, ancient, unmoving, are silently absorbing the cosmic fingerprints drifting down from the sky. But you don't know that. No one does. To you, this is just another morning in the year 774 AD. The forest looks the same. The birds chirp the same. The path beneath your feet feels familiar, dirt compacted by decades of footsteps. The horizon glows a soft orange, the kind of sunrise you've seen thousands of times, and yet something feels different, not threatening, not frightening, just subtly wrong in a way you can't quite place. The world feels as if it's waiting for something. As you walk, the sunlight has a muted quality, like a candle behind thin fabric. You squint up at the sky. The sun is there, steady and round, but its brightness feels oddly diluted. It doesn't hurt your eyes the way it normally does. Children stare directly at it without flinching. Farmers pause in the fields, wiping their brows, noticing the unusual softness of light. Must be clouds, someone mutters. But there are no clouds. Animals sense it more acutely. Birds seem restless, perching in unusual places. Dogs bark at nothing. Horses stamp and shake their heads. The natural world is reacting to a solar event of unimaginable force, even if the people living through it have no language to describe it. If you could see beyond the sky, beyond the atmosphere itself, you would witness chaos. Not chaos in the dramatic, fiery sense we imagine, but chaos on an atomic level. Particles hurled from the sun at unimaginable speed are colliding with Earth's magnetic shield. The shield stretches, strains, glows. Aurora-like lights spread far beyond their usual boundaries, creeping into skies that normally never see them. Lights shimmer over Europe, over China, over Japan. Some ancient texts mention it vaguely. Red lights in the heavens, sky burning crimson, strange glow at night. But these are scattered mentions, barely noticed. They linger as tiny clues, scattered across civilizations that had no idea what they were recording. The forest around you holds the biggest clue of all. As you walk, a soft snapping sound echoes nearby. A small branch breaks and falls, sending leaves fluttering toward the ground. The forest is alive with motion and sound, but underneath it, in the silence, you can't hear. Atoms are being rearranged. Radiation is interacting with carbon in the trees, creating a burst of carbon-14 so intense that it will baffle scientists more than 1,000 years later. You stop to rest near an oak tree. Its bark is rough, its trunk massive, its roots twisting deep into the earth. This tree is already over a century old. It has lived through storms, droughts, harsh winters, and bountiful summers. But the ring it forms this year will be unlike any other, a ring that will shout across time, long after you are forgotten. If only you could see inside it. If only you could watch the tree, quietly recording the moment the sun touched Earth. But you can't. That knowledge belonged to the future. For you, life moves as normal. People barter in the village market. Fishermen return with their morning catch. Children chase chickens across muddy paths. And yet, everyone senses something in the air. They talk in whispers. They watch the sky longer than usual. No one knows what's wrong, yet everyone feels it. The sun seems tired. It rises slower, sets quieter, and at night, the horizon glows in colors you've never seen before. Imagine standing outside your home at dusk. There are no streetlights, no electric lamps, no neon signs. The world is pure darkness after sunset. So when the sky begins to shimmer, faint red wisps here, a pale green arc there, you notice immediately. You stare upward, mouth slightly open, wondering if the gods are sending messages, or if warriors in the heavens are battling with glowing blades. Some people pray, some are afraid, some are fascinated. But none of you understand. How could you? Even the most advanced scholars of the time have no concept of solar storms. They study stars, seasons, comets, but the idea that the sun itself could blast Earth with waves of radiation is unimaginable. And so the event passes quietly, misunderstood. But here's the extraordinary part. Even after the initial blast, the effects don't stop. They ripple through the atmosphere for months. The air ionizes slightly differently. Night glows linger. Migrating birds lose their way. Certain plants grow weaker or slower. Not enough for famine, just enough for the most observant farmers to comment that the land feels different this year. You feel it too, a heaviness in the mornings. A subtle shift in air pressure, a strange clarity in the night sky. The stars appear sharper, brighter, like pinholes in a black curtain. This is the lingering signature of a cosmic storm, so intense that, if it struck today, it could cripple modern civilization in hours. But in 774 AD, it becomes a forgotten anomaly. Life is not built on electricity or satellites. There are no power grids to destroy, no radio systems to scramble, no spacecraft to fry. The world is resilient in its simplicity. So the greatest solar storm in recorded history strikes Earth, and humanity barely notices. The trees notice, the atmosphere notices, the planet itself notices, but people do not. You return home that evening, lighting an oil lamp as shadows stretch across your walls. The sky glows faintly with colors you don't have names for. You tell your family about the strange lights again, but they shrugged. Just another unusual night in an unusual season. No one thinks it will matter. No one believes the sky can hold long-lasting secrets. But centuries later, scientists will look back in shock at what the trees recorded this year. They will discover a spike in carbon-14 so massive that it rewrites our understanding of the sun's power. And the single question they will ask, the question you can never hear, is, how did the people of 774 survive such a cosmic fury without ever knowing? The answer lies in the quietness of your world, a world untouched by electricity, satellites, and technological fragility. The storm passed over you silently, and history moved on. But the mystery is far from over. You wake the next morning, expecting everything to feel normal again, but it doesn't. There is a stillness in the air, not a peaceful quiet, but a strange pause, as if the world is holding its breath. The birds are late to sing. The sunrise is oddly muted. People step outside their homes and glance upward in instinctive curiosity, sensing something but unable to name it. The sun sits low on the horizon, wrapped in a pale, hazy glow that refuses to brighten. And though you don't know the science, your body feels the difference. Your shadow is softer. The heat feels delayed. The morning looks washed out, faded, like a painting left too long in the rain. Across the village, a few elders murmur about omens, about holy signs, about storms that leave no rain. You can blame them. None of you understands that the atmosphere itself is still trembling from the solar blast. Charged particles are drifting, scattering, reshaping the invisible shell that protects Earth. If you could see magnetism, the sky would look like a battlefield, lines twisting, arcs glowing, invisible currents clashing and snapping back into place. But to human eyes, it's just a strange day. You decide to walk into the woods again. There's comfort in the trees, in their familiar shapes, in the rustle of leaves, whispering secrets older than your entire civilization. But today, even the forest feels different. You hear it before you see it. A low hum, not loud, not threatening, more like a vibration felt in your bones rather than in your ears. The branches sway gently, though no wind touches them. Insects act erratically. Ants form strange patterns, and bees fly in confused spirals, unable to find their way. Nature is recalibrating. The cosmic storm didn't end when the sky stopped glowing. Its fingerprints linger everywhere. As you walk, you place your hand on the trunk of the old oak tree, the same one you rested beside yesterday. Its bark feels warm, not like sunlight warm, but internally warm, as if something deep inside it has changed. And it has. Right now, inside that massive trunk, new wood is forming a ring, infused with an unusually high concentration of carbon-14, a ring scientists in the future will use to reconstruct the violence of this moment, a ring that will become a message across 1,000 years. But for you, it's just a tree that suddenly feels alive. You continue through the forest until you reach a clearing. You sit on a fallen log and look around. The world is quiet, but not peaceful. Disoriented, animals behave strangely. Dogs in the village bark at the sky for no reason. Horses refuse to move. Even the chickens wander in confused circles at dawn. Your instincts tell you something is wrong. Your mind tells you nothing unusual is happening because you don't have the framework to understand cosmic radiation. You don't know the sun can explode in silence. You don't know invisible storms can shape the air you breathe. So you live through a historic catastrophe without knowing it. As the day passes, the atmosphere slowly stabilizes. The sky regains some of its usual blue. Shadows become darker again. But the changes aren't done. Even after the initial storm has passed, Earth's atmosphere remains energized, like a bell still ringing from a powerful strike. That night, the sky comes alive again. You walk outside and tilt your head upward. For the second time, you see colors dancing across the heavens. Reds, purples, greens, faint at first, then brighter, shimmering like ghostly curtains, rippling in the windless dark. You don't have a name for it. But in the future, scientists will call it an equatorial aurora, something so rare, so extreme, that even modern storms struggle to produce it. Tonight, whole continents watch the sky glow. In Central Asia, monks write brief notes in their chronicles. In Europe, farmers whisper superstitions. In Japan, court scholars quietly record strange celestial lights that don't fit any known pattern. No civilization fully understands it, but all of them see it. You stand there in silence, mesmerized. The sky feels bigger tonight, deeper, almost infinite. The colors swirl faintly above, dancing in ways that don't seem natural. Your heart beats faster, not out of fear, but awe. If the sun had a voice, this is what its whisper would look like. The colors eventually fade, and the night grows darker. You return home, unsure what any of it means. You sleep uneasy, dreaming of skies that ripple like water, and life continues. Days pass, and the strange symptoms diminish. Animals return to their normal routines. The sun shines normally again. The world seems to settle back into its familiar rhythm, but the event has left scars, tiny, invisible, yet eternal. The trees hold them, the ice holds them, the atmosphere holds them. And one day, when scientists drill into ancient ice or slice into ancient wood, they will see an unmistakable spike in cosmic particles, 10 times stronger than any solar storm ever recorded. The year 774 AD will leap out of history, a mystery, a warning, a question. What could cause such a massive blast from the sun? A flare, a coronal mass ejection, something even bigger, a superflares, thousands of times more powerful than anything in modern history. Scientists will debate this for decades, but you, standing in your small village 1,000 years earlier, have no idea you've just survived the strongest solar event in human history. Your world was too simple to be destroyed. Your life continued because the storm arrived before humanity became vulnerable. But the biggest question of all, the question you cannot ask, but modern humans must, is this. If an event like the 774 superflare happened today, would any of us survive it? You wake to the sound of rain. A soft drizzle taps against the roof, gentle and steady. It should feel comforting, something familiar, something ordinary. But today, even the rain feels different. When you step outside, droplets slide down your arms, almost like dew. Cold, but not cold enough. Light, but somehow heavier. There's an odd metallic scent in the air, something sharp and unfamiliar that clings to your senses for a moment before fading. You blink up at the sky. Thick clouds hang low, almost too low, like blankets pulled tightly across the heavens. They seem tense, as if holding back something you can't see. You stand there quietly for several minutes, listening to the rainfall, trying to convince yourself that everything is normal. But the world has changed. You just can't see most of the changes yet. Far above those clouds, the atmosphere is still humming, charged from the solar blast that struck Earth days earlier. The invisible layers of air that shield the planet have been reshaped, disturbed, rattled like a drumskin. It will take weeks for them to settle completely. The rain falling now carries tiny traces of what the sun threw at Earth. Not dangerous to you, not anymore, but different. Altered. In the future, scientists will find this rain preserved as faint chemical signatures, telling a story no human eye ever saw. For now, it's just rain. You watch droplets slide across leaves, drip down rocks, form small puddles in the dirt. The forest smells richer, earthier, as if the storm unearthed something ancient and buried. You kneel and run your hand across the ground. The soil feels oddly warm beneath the cool rainwater. Life is reacting to the event in its own quiet way. Plants absorb light differently for a while. Growth patterns shift. Seeds sprout earlier or later than they should. Trees create new rings, marked forever by the cosmic fingerprints of 774 AD. You don't know any of this. To you, it's simply a strange week. But someday, long after you're gone, long after your village has turned to dust, long after your language has been lost, scientists will stand in sealed laboratories, holding pieces of wood from this very year. They will slice them thin, examine the rings under microscopes, and see the unmistakable spike in carbon-14, a spike you lived through, a spike you breathed into your lungs, a spike you felt in your bones. Without understanding why, you stand there a long while, letting the rain wash over you, until the drizzle becomes a stronger, steadier downpour. The forest darkens. The leaves tremble under the weight of falling water. You gather your cloak more tightly around your shoulders and turn back toward your home. Inside, the air is warm from the small fire you keep burning. You sit near it, stretching your hands toward the heat, and for a moment the world feels safe again. Fire is predictable. Fire is human. Fire is something you can understand. But outside these walls, the sun has reminded Earth how small you really are. Later that afternoon, the rain stops. A thin layer of mist rises from the wet ground, curling around your feet as you step outside again. The sky remains gray, but lighter now, with hints of sunlight pushing through. You walk toward the hills beyond your village, a familiar path you take often. The grass is slick, bending under your footsteps, leaving temporary prints behind. You climb slowly, feeling the damp air settle in your lungs. When you reach the ridge, you stop, because the world looks different from up here. The valley stretches out before you, washed clean by the rain. Streams overflow their banks, cutting new paths through the earth. Birds fly in cautious zigzags, searching for stable air currents. The clouds are thinning, revealing patches of pale blue sky. You sit on a large, smooth stone, one you've rested on many times before. From here, everything seems smaller. The houses, the fields, even the people walking along the village paths. But the sky looks enormous, endless, waiting, watching. You can't shake the uneasy feeling that the sun is still up there, changed somehow. Not angry, not dangerous right now, but unpredictable, like an ocean that can turn violent without warning. For thousands of years, humans have worshipped the sun, feared it, prayed to it, built temples for it, and now, without realizing it, you have seen its true power, a power no myth ever fully captured. You lie back on the stone, letting your body relax into its cool surface. You stare upward at the shifting clouds, watching them drift lazily across the sky. Minutes pass, then an hour, then 2. Eventually, the clouds break open enough for the sun to shine through, dim at first, softened by remaining haze. You squint, shielding your eyes. It looks normal, but somehow strange. The light feels different, like the warmth is delayed, arriving moments after it should. In your village, people step outside their homes, looking up with cautious curiosity. The sun has returned, but its glow feels altered, distant, almost shy. You close your eyes and let the sunlight warm your face. This light, this moment, will be remembered by no one. Not in stories, not in songs, not in carvings on stone. Your people don't record cosmic events. They don't write down histories. They don't measure the sky, but the sky remembers you. Its particles changed because of the blast that passed through them. Its magnetic fields shifted. Its chemistry transformed. And in its own quiet way, the sky will carry the memory of this moment for more than 1,000 years. Somewhere in the distant future, a team of scientists will gather around a tree sample placed on a glass table. One of them will point to a single ring, the ring formed during the very year you lying here in the grass, and say, "There, that's when the sun did something it's not supposed to do." They will call it the blackout event. They will name it after a researcher who discovered the anomaly in ancient tree rings. They will say it was 10 times stronger than the biggest solar storm ever recorded. And they will ask the question you cannot. What if it happens again? You remain on the hillside long after the sun reappears, listening to the wind whisper across the tall grass. There is a strange stillness in the air, a pause, as if the world itself is exhaling after holding its breath for days. You can't explain it, but something deep inside you senses that the earth is resetting. The sheep grazing in the lower fields raise their heads occasionally, ears twitching. Birds hop across branches with a measured caution, testing their surroundings, as though the very air might still hold a spark of the sun's strange fury. Even the insects move differently, slower, as if stunned by something they cannot understand. You push yourself up from the stone and begin the quiet walk back down the hill. Mud clings to your boots, and the scent of wet soil fills your lungs, grounding you in the present moment. Yet part of your mind drifts upward, returning again and again to the sky. You feel like a witness to something ancient, something cosmic, a secret no one else in your village realizes they've been part of. When you reach the village, life has begun to return to its usual rhythm. People gather near the communal well, filling jugs and exchanging theories in hushed voices. Some believe the pale, flickering sky was the work of spirits. Others say the sun was wounded and is healing. A few insist it was simply weather, nothing more. You catch pieces of their conversations as you pass by. It glowed like fire behind ice. The animals were restless. Even the dogs wouldn't sleep. I swear I heard buzzing in the air, like a swarm of invisible bees. No storm behaves like that. The spirits were angry. You don't correct any of them. You don't try to explain that it wasn't spirits, or magic, or weather. Because even you aren't sure what it was. All you know is that the world felt different, charged, trembling, alive in a way you'd never felt before. That night, for the first time in nearly a week, the sky is clear. Stars appear, one by one, like glowing seeds cast into the darkness. They glitter sharply, untouched by the haze that smothered them days earlier. You stand outside your home, staring upward, grateful for the return of something familiar. But the stars seem brighter than before, sharper, almost metallic. You tell yourself it's just your imagination, but deep down, you wonder if even the stars felt the shock of whatever the sun unleashed. You lie down on the grass again, hands folded over your chest, letting the night settle around you like a cool blanket. Crickets sing. A soft breeze rustles the tall grass. For the first time in days, it feels like the world remembers how to breathe normally. But just as your eyes begin to grow heavy, you notice something faint in the distance. On the horizon, a ripple of pale green light shimmers, like a curtain being lifted by invisible fingers. At first, you think it must be a trick of your tired eyes. Then the light grows, green becomes brighter, threads of pale purple weave through it. The colors dance slowly across the horizon, rippling like waves on a quiet lake. You sit up, heart thudding. It's the aurora, not the soft glow you've seen once or twice in your life, faint and far to the north. No, this is something far greater, something grander. The sky unfolds in waves of color, painting the darkness with swirling ribbons of green, violet, and faint, pulsing red. You stare, mesmerized. You don't know the word aurora. You don't know it comes from solar particles colliding with Earth's magnetic shield. You don't know that these colors mean the invisible storm above the atmosphere is still active, still murmuring, still echoing with the power of what just happened. You only know that it is beautiful. Your village sleeps behind you, unaware, but you remain awake, bathed in colors you've never seen before, colors most humans across history will never witness in their lifetimes. Hours pass as you watch the sky. The auroras shift silently, never repeating the same pattern twice. They're like dancers performing a ritual that only the heavens understand. At one point, a long band of green stretches from horizon to horizon, directly overhead, as if the sky is being split open. Then purple streams twist around it in delicate spirals. Then the red lights pulse in slow, steady beats, like the heartbeat of the sky. You, Dante, even realize you've been crying until you feel tears cool on your cheeks. Something about the experience feels larger than life, larger than you, larger than your entire world. Eventually, the lights fade, dissolving into the dark like mist. The stars take their places again, quietly filling the sky. You stand slowly, knees stiff, bones aching from sitting so long, but your heart is full. You walk back toward your home with a sense of wonder. Fear, too, but the quiet kind of fear that comes from knowing how vast the universe truly is and how small you are within it. You sleep deeply that night, the best sleep you've had in days. In the morning, you find the village buzzing with excitement. Several people say they saw flashes of green light before dawn. Others heard strange, crackling sounds near the edges of the fields. One man swears his cows refused to move for an hour straight, staring at the sky. No one knows what any of it means. Life returns to normal in the days that follow. The fields are tended. Wood is chopped. Food is prepared. Children play. Dogs bark. The world keeps moving, but little signs remain. The taste of the water is just slightly different. A faint shimmer clings to puddles when the light hits them right. Metal objects feel unusually warm when left outside too long. Even the birds adjust their flight paths, avoiding certain stretches of sky they once crossed freely. Weeks pass, and slowly, quietly, the world stabilizes. The atmosphere calms. Earth's magnetic field settles back into its usual rhythm. The sky returns to normal. The sun looks like it always did. To your people, the week of strange lights and trembling air fades into memory, becoming a story told around fires, a story of spirits, or omens, or a blessing from the heavens. But Earth remembers the truth. The remnants of the cosmic blast settle into tree rings. The isotopes embed themselves into coral deep beneath the waves. Invisible signatures seep into ice that will not melt for centuries. Someday, the world will read these signatures like a message carved into stone. Someday, scientists will realize the sun is capable of far more than they believed. Someday, humanity will look at the year 774 AD and understand the sun changed us forever. Years pass, seasons turn, children grow, people age, and life settles once again into the slow rhythm of planting, harvesting, and surviving. But you, unlike the others, never fully forget what you saw. When the sky glowed, when the air trembled, when you felt the touch of something too vast for human understanding. It became a memory stitched into you like a second soul. Sometimes you wake at night and step outside just to check the sky. You don't know what you're looking for. Maybe another strange light. Maybe another whisper of color. Maybe another sign that the universe is far more alive than you ever imagined. Most nights, everything is normal. But you never stop watching. Over the years, you begin noticing subtle changes, things so delicate that most people would dismiss them. The trees that survived that strange week now grow with slightly different ring patterns. Not wrong, just different, more compact, more dense, as if something in that cosmic burst nudged nature into rewriting itself just a little. The crops behave oddly too. Some patches grow faster than expected. Others resist drought better than before. You don't understand why, but it feels connected, like ripples that never fully stopped moving outward. When you speak softly to your closest friend about it, he laughs kindly, saying the mind plays tricks when it remembers fear. Maybe he's right, but something deep in your chest whispers otherwise. What happened that week was not just a strange storm or a passing omen. It was a message, a warning, a reminder. The sun is not a gentle lamp hanging quietly in the sky. It is a living star, powerful, unpredictable, ancient beyond imagination. It can warm your world, and it can end it. You learn to read the sky in ways you never did before. Clouds, light, the sharpness of shadows, all take on new meaning. You can sense storms before others notice. Animals' behavior makes more sense now. You start seeing patterns in things people have overlooked for generations. Perhaps the universe opened your eyes that week. Perhaps you were never meant to forget. On a cool summer morning, many years later, you walk to the same hillside where you once watched the sun fade and the auroras dance. The grass is taller now, waves of green rolling under the breeze. The stone where you once sat remains, but it's cracked down the middle, as if the earth split it deliberately. You sit on it anyway. The air hums softly with life flies buzzing, birds chattering, leaves whispering. It's peaceful. And yet, as you sit there, a strange thought rises in your mind. A realization formed slowly over years of remembering. What you witnessed was not just an event. It was a cycle, a heartbeat of the universe. Some nights, the stars twinkle with a sharpness that reminds you of the auroras. Other nights, the moon has a faint glow, as if reflecting something you cannot see. You sense a pattern, quiet, distant, but steady. The universe pulses, the sun breathes, and sometimes those breaths shake the world. You don't have the language of science, or the math, or the tools to measure these things. All you have is memory, but memory is enough. The elders of your village say the strange week was a sign of divine displeasure. Some say it was punishment. Some say it was protection. Some have woven it into myths, telling children stories about spirits cleaning the sky with heavenly fire. You remain silent when they tell these tales, but inside, you know a different truth. What happened was not punishment. It was not blessing. It was simply nature, the vast, incomprehensible nature of the cosmos, reminding the small creatures below that existence is fragile. Years continue passing, and your hair grays, your hands grow lined, your steps slow, but your eyes remain sharp, always returning to the sky. One night, when you are older, you wake suddenly, sensing something you cannot explain. A heaviness presses against your chest, not painful, but urgent. You push yourself out of bed and step outside. The sky is clear. Stars glitter across the darkness like frozen sparks scattered by some celestial hand. The night is silent, except for the steady pulse of your own heartbeat. You stand there, breathing slowly, letting your eyes adjust. Then you see it. Far on the horizon, a faint flicker, so faint you might think it's nothing. But you've watched the sky long enough to recognize its shape. A ripple of green, a shimmer of violet, soft at first, barely visible, like a memory returning. A slow smile forms on your face. The aurora. It rises gently, gracefully, revealing itself like an old friend returning after a lifetime away. It doesn't blaze like it did all those years ago. It doesn't tear the darkness apart. It simply glows, softly, beautifully. You sit on the cool earth, leaning against the wooden frame of your home. Your bones ache, but your heart feels light. The colors grow stronger, dancing silently across the sky, echoing the same movements you saw when you were young. It feels like closure, like the sky is telling you, you saw something rare, you understood, you remembered. Most people in your village sleep through the entire thing. They never open their eyes to witness the miracle unfolding above them. But you watch every second, until the colors fade, until the darkness settles back, until the stars reclaim their place one by one. When it is over, the silence feels warm, peaceful. You feel tired in the comfortable way one feels after a long journey that finally reaches its end. You lie back gently, your head resting on the grass, looking at the sky you've watched your entire life. You whisper a quiet thank you, not to gods or spirits, but to the universe itself, to the sun that roared, to the sky that glowed, to the light that reminded you how small and how precious life truly is. And as you close your eyes, drifting toward sleep, you feel that same hum in the air, faint, distant, timeless, a heartbeat, a cycle, a reminder that the universe continues, with or without witness. Your breathing slows, your thoughts quiet, and the sky above remains endless, waiting for the next curious soul to look up and wonder.